I was holding my husband Rick's hand when the phone rang that cold October afternoon in room 312 of Mercy General Hospital. The air carried that familiar sterile hospital scent, mixed with the faint lavender soap I had used earlier to gently wash his forehead. The heart monitor beeped in its slow, steady rhythm. My stomach dropped violently the moment I heard the woman's voice on the line. "Mrs. Hargrove, this is Amanda from First National Bank. I'm calling about the mortgage application on 142 Oakwood Lane. We need to verify a few details before we proceed with wiring the $425,000. The room spun. I stared at Rick's pale, sunken face, his chest rising and falling with painful effort, and felt the world shatter around me. "Oh, excuse me," my voice cracked. "There must be some mistake. We don't have a mortgage. That house has been paid off for 17 years. A brief pause, then typing. "According to our records, the loan was approved 3 days ago using a durable power of attorney you signed in 2019. The borrower is your daughter, Brooke Hargrove Kessler." Brooke, my own daughter. While I sat helplessly watching the love of my life slip away, my daughter had mortgaged our home behind my back. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply whispered, "I'll call you back," and hung up with trembling fingers. That single phone call was the moment everything changed. My family wasn't breaking. It had already been destroyed. And I was the last to know. Let me take you back so you can understand how completely blind I had been. Rick and I bought the beautiful 2-story colonial at 142 Oakwood Lane in the spring of 1998. See, we were young and full of dreams, scraping together every penny for the down payment while barely affording the second mortgage. Rick worked long hours as a construction supervisor, and I taught elementary school, grading papers late into the night. Over the years, we poured our souls into that house. We painted every wall ourselves on weekends, laughing as paint ended up on our clothes more than the surfaces. We planted the rose garden in the backyard the summer Brooke turned 12, choosing each bush as a family. That house wasn't just bricks and wood. It was 42 years of memories, laughter echoing through the halls, tears shared in quiet moments, and a love that had weathered every storm. It was the home Rick had worked so hard to pay off completely so I would never have to worry after he was gone. And he promised me that on our 20th anniversary, holding me on the back porch as the sun set over the garden. Brooke had always been our golden child. Straight A's, cheer captain, the girl who could talk her way out of anything with her bright smile and quick tongue. When she married Ryan Kessler 5 years ago in a lavish country club ceremony, I was thrilled. Ryan had the big personality, the luxury car, and what he called his promising tech startup. I ignored the red flags, his dominating conversations, the expensive gifts beyond their means, the late nights blamed on investor meetings. I pushed the doubts away because my daughter seemed happy, and that was all I wanted for her. My son Connor was always the quiet, steady one. He rarely caused drama, but even he tried to warn me once during a tense family dinner. "Mom, Ryan's spending is out of control. Brooke keeps asking me for money behind your back. I'm worried." I brushed it off, telling him he was being overly protective and maybe jealous. How wrong I was, how blind love had made me. Now Rick was fighting for every breath. And 2 years earlier, during his first health scare, I had foolishly given Brooke durable power of attorney. It was supposed to be just in case something happened to both of us, just in case I got sick, just in case life threw us a curveball too big to handle. I trusted her completely because she was my daughter, my flesh and blood, the little girl I had rocked to sleep so many nights. While I spent sleepless nights in that uncomfortable vinyl hospital chair, Brooke had been busy behind my back, using that trust to destroy us. At the next morning, I confronted her in the dimly lit hospital cafeteria. She swept in wearing designer sunglasses and carrying an expensive handbag, her hair freshly highlighted. She looked ready for brunch, not visiting her dying father. "Mom, you look exhausted," she said sweetly, kissing my cheek. "You need to let me handle more. That's why I have the power of attorney." I slid my phone across the table showing the bank email. "Care to explain this, Brooke?" Her smile didn't waver. "Oh, that? It's just a home equity line. Ryan's startup needed a bridge loan. We'll pay it back in 6 months. The house is still ours. Don't worry." "Brooke, we have no mortgage. You used my power of attorney to take out this loan without telling me. You forged documents while I sat by your father's bedside." She laughed lightly, the same laugh from when she was 16 and got caught sneaking out. "Mom, you signed the POA. It's legal. With Dad's bills piling up, this was the responsible thing. You should thank me for stepping up." My blood ran cold. She was gaslighting me while her father fought for his life upstairs. I wanted to scream, but a survival instinct told me to stay calm. "You're right, honey." I forced a tired smile. "I'm just emotional. Let's talk after after things settle." Her shoulders relaxed. "See? I knew you'd understand. I'll handle everything." That night, I barely slept. I lay awake making notes on my phone. Every strange text, every time she offered to handle the mail, every unexplained absence. I was no longer just a grieving wife, yet I was becoming a woman on a mission. Rick's final days were pure agony, each hour stretched into eternity while racing toward the end. The doctors had warned us it was terminal, but nothing prepared me for how cruelly the cancer stole him. His once strong hands felt fragile in mine. His breathing grew shallower, each inhale a visible struggle. I never left his side. I read The Old Man and the Sea to him, my voice steady even when tears blurred the pages. I played his favorite jazz records, the saxophone filling the room and carrying us back to happier days. I told stories of when the kids were little, Brooke setting off the smoke alarm, baking cookies, Connor's backyard fort that lasted all summer. Rick couldn't always speak, but I saw faint smiles flicker across his lips. Brooke's visits were short and performative. She arrived with timed tears, sat for 20 minutes checking her phone, then kissed his forehead and left quickly. Ryan never came, claiming the hospital was too depressing. Each time she left, suspicion grew in my stomach, but I pushed it down, telling myself I was just exhausted. One night around 3 a.m., Rick woke briefly from the morphine. His clouded eyes found mine. He squeezed my hand with surprising strength and whispered hoarsely, "Janet, promise me you'll take care of the house. It's our legacy for the kids. Don't let it go." I promised through tears, and he drifted back to sleep. Those words became my sacred vow. The days blurred in beeping machines, doctor consultations, and bitter coffee. I watched helplessly as Rick wasted away, when weight dropping, skin turning yellowish, pain breaking through even strong medication. I held ice chips to his lips, wiped his brow, and sang lullabies I once sang to our babies. In those quiet moments, the outside world disappeared. There was only Rick and me and the thinning thread between us, yet betrayal crept closer. While I whispered love to my dying husband, Brooke was downtown, signing loan papers, using my power of attorney to mortgage our home. She calculated money while I counted the minutes between his breaths. The contrast tore at my heart when I later learned the truth. On Rick's last conscious day, he had a brief window of clarity. He asked me to describe the rose garden. I painted every detail: the red roses by the fence, the pink climbers on the trellis. He smiled faintly and whispered, "Plant some more for me when I'm gone, Janet. Make it beautiful again." That night, his condition crashed. The morphine drip increased. His breathing grew irregular. I stayed awake until dawn, holding his hand, whispering how much I loved him and how proud I was of our life. Rick slipped into a coma the next morning. I sat holding his cold hand while Brooke and Ryan waited in the hallway like vultures. Through the cracked door, I overheard Ryan's urgent whisper, "The wire cleared? We're covered for the next payment to Vinny. Keep your mom distracted until after the funeral." Vinny. The name sent ice through my veins. Ryan had mentioned him once at Thanksgiving, a business associate who didn't sound legitimate. That night, I called my best friend, Linda Crawford. "Linda, I need you to check the county records for my house and look up anyone named Vinny connected to Ryan. Tell no one." Rick passed away 2 days later, his hand in mine as the monitors went silent. The funeral was a blur of black dresses and empty condolences. Brooke played the perfect grieving daughter, crying on cue, hugging everyone, telling stories of how her father always believed in her. I stood at the graveside in the biting wind and made a silent vow. I would not lose the house Rick built for us, no matter what it took. Linda called that evening, voice tight. "Janet, it's worse. The mortgage is real. There's a second lien for $80,000. Ryan owes $1.2 million to Vinny. The kind of man who breaks legs for late payments." My knees gave out. Grief burned away, replaced by pure rage. Brooke had sold our future to a loan shark. While I sat by Rick's deathbed, I didn't confront her yet. Instead, I hired Marcus Reed, the sharpest estate lawyer. He examined the documents and whistled. "Strong case for undue influence and fraud. We need proof she acted against your interests while you were grieving." I hired a private investigator. We uncovered small transfers Brooke had made, edited hospital recordings she shared in group chats, mocking me as unstable, and worst of all, a hidden safety deposit box with a forged will dated days before Rick's death, attempting to disinherit me entirely. Connor flew in from Denver. "Mom, she's always been like this. This is the biggest betrayal." He revealed old emails where Brooke bragged about handling Mom once Dad was gone. We built an ironclad case together. Weeks later, I invited Brooke and Ryan for one last family dinner. I wore Rick's pearl necklace and cooked his favorite pot roast. I smiled like the broken mother they expected. Halfway through, I slid the thick folder across the table, bank statements, photos with Vinny, the forged will, and Marcus's legal threat. Brooke went white. Ryan blustered, "This is ridiculous!" I cut him off with steel in my voice. "You stole my home while my husband was dying. You recorded me crying and mocked me. You forged a will to erase me. Fix it or I'll drag you through every courtroom and make sure Vinny knows exactly who lost his money." Brooke panicked and played an edited recording of Rick's weak voice, seeming to agree to let her handle everything. "See? Dad wanted this." I stood slowly. "Desperate people ask for help. You chose betrayal. The world is about to hear what kind of daughter you really are." The 6-week war was brutal. They spread rumors I was losing my mind. But Ryan showed up at my door with 2 thugs threatening accidents. They tried to declare me incompetent, but I had Connor, Linda, and Marcus, and a courage forged in fire. The courtroom day crackled with tension. Brooke and Ryan entered smug, giggling as I walked in. The judge called order. Marcus presented evidence, bank records, photos, the forged will. Gasps filled the room. Then the bombshell. A bank employee testified under oath that Brooke had impersonated me using a voice-altering app. Brooke screamed, "She's lying!" Connor took the stand and played the full, unedited recordings. Brooke bragging outside Rick's room. Once Dad's gone, we'll have the house and Mom will be too broken to fight. The courtroom erupted. Brooke lunged in panic and had to be restrained by bailiffs. In the final moments, I stood and addressed the court, voice steady but raw. Your Honor, my daughter didn't just steal money. She stole my husband's last days and tried to erase our life. But a mother's love, even when betrayed, becomes the fiercest weapon. The judge ruled decisively. Mortgage voided, full repayment ordered, criminal charges recommended. Vinny's people visited Brooke and Ryan that week. She reportedly begged for mercy while throwing Ryan under the bus. I never asked details. 6 months later, I sat on the back porch of 142 Oakwood Lane, roses blooming again. Connor and his fiancée moved back to help restore the house. Linda visited every Sunday with coffee and laughter. Brooke sent one bitter text. I hope you're happy now. I never replied. Sometimes at night I hear Rick's gentle voice in the quiet rooms. He would be proud of the woman I became. I didn't just survive my daughter's betrayal. I rose above it with strength I never knew I had. Betrayal cuts deep, but it can forge you into someone unbreakable if you fight back with everything you have. Thank you for listening to my story.